Right now, something is living in the moss outside your window. It has survived temperatures colder than outer space. It has survived radiation that would vaporize a human being. It has survived the vacuum of open space, with no suit, no protection, nothing. Scientists shot it into orbit, left it floating in the void, and brought it back. It was fine. That creature is real. It's microscopic, and it's almost certainly within walking distance of you right now. That's number 3 on today's list. But first, let me destroy something you've believed your entire life. You've been told death is inevitable. Every living thing is born, ages, and dies. That's always been the rule. From the first single-celled organisms 3.5 billion years ago all the way to us. But for 5 animals on this planet, that rule is just a suggestion. These creatures found loopholes in biology's most fundamental law. Some of them don't age. Some of them freeze solid and come back. One of them has been alive since the 1600s. Today we're looking at all 5. And by the end of this video, you will never think about death or life the same way again. Let's start with an animal that scientists, without exaggeration, call immortal. Its name is Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. It's tiny, about the size of your pinky fingernail, transparent, nearly invisible in the water. It lives in warm oceans around the world, and if you saw one while swimming, you'd never give it a second look. But inside that tiny body, something is happening that rewrites everything we know about biology. To understand why, you need to know how a normal jellyfish lives. All jellyfish go through 2 stages. First, a polyp, a small plant-like creature anchored to the seafloor. And then the free-swimming jellyfish we all recognize. The polyp eventually buds off into a jellyfish. The jellyfish swims, reproduces, ages, and dies. Simple, predictable, the end. Turritopsis dohrnii plays by those exact same rules, right up until the moment it's supposed to die. That's when it does something no other animal on Earth does. It goes back to being a polyp. The adult jellyfish sinks to the sea floor. Its body contracts, its tentacles retract, its cells reprogram. And within a few days, a new young polyp sits at the bottom, ready to begin life all over again. It's as if an 80-year-old person could, at will, transform back into a newborn baby, completely, at the cellular level. The process behind this is called transdifferentiation. Specialized adult cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, digestive cells lose their specialization entirely. They revert back into stem cells. And from those stem cells, an entirely new young organism builds itself. This breaks one of the core rules of biology. The rule was, differentiation is a one-way street. A nerve cell can't become a muscle cell. A muscle cell can't become a stem cell. The immortal jellyfish said, "Watch me." It can literally rewind its biological clock, not as a metaphor, but at the level of every single cell in its body. And theoretically, this cycle can repeat forever. The jellyfish ages, becomes a polyp, grows into a new jellyfish, ages again, becomes a polyp again, on and on indefinitely. In the wild, immortal jellyfish still die. Predators eat them, disease gets them, currents wash them ashore. But from old age alone, never. Researchers in Spain and Japan sequenced its genome and found unique mutations in genes controlling DNA replication and telomere protection. Telomeres are the protective caps on chromosomes that shorten every time a cell divides. That shortening is one of the main biological clocks ticking inside all of us. In Turritopsis dohrnii, those genes work differently. Its cells can divide without losing genetic information. That's the key. And it's why the medical world is paying very close attention. If we can understand how this jellyfish resets its cells, we might apply that mechanism to human cells. Not for immortality, but potentially for treating cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, all the conditions that rob people of life as they age. And here's one more detail that sounds like a Netflix thriller. Because of its ability to rejuvenate, the immortal jellyfish is quietly conquering the world's oceans. Originally native to the Mediterranean, it's now found near Florida, Japan, Australia, Panama, and beyond. Ships carry its polyps in their ballast water, depositing them in new ports across the globe. Scientists call it the silent invasion, an animal that doesn't die of old age and can reproduce anywhere. That's the perfect colonizer, and there's no stopping it. Our second animal is the complete opposite of the jellyfish. Where the jellyfish escapes death by rewinding time, this one defeats death by simply refusing to age. Meet the naked mole rat. A pink, wrinkled, nearly hairless tube the size of a mouse, with bulging eyes and two enormous front teeth sticking out like a malfunctioning stapler. It lives in underground colonies in East Africa. It digs tunnels. It eats roots. On the surface, nothing interesting, but biologists consider it one of the most extraordinary animals on Earth. A normal mouse lives 2 to 3 years. The naked mole rat lives up to 37. That's 10 to 12 times longer than any rodent its size should live. If we lived proportionally as long as a naked mole rat, our average lifespan would be around 800 years. But it's not just the length of life. It's how the naked mole rat ages. Because essentially, it doesn't. Studies showed that a mole rat's probability of dying does not increase with age. None. This violates the Gompertz Makeham law, the fundamental statistical law of aging that every other mammal on Earth follows. In humans, mice, elephants, whales, the older you get, the exponentially higher the chance that this year will be your last. In the naked mole rat, that curve is completely flat. A 30-year-old mole rat dies at the same rate as a 5-year-old. It just lives until something external kills it. And there's more. The naked mole rat almost never gets cancer. Over decades of monitoring thousands of individuals in laboratories, researchers found almost 0 cancer cases. By comparison, lab mice develop cancer at near universal rates. The mole rat's secret is a special protein, high molecular weight hyaluronic acid, that fills the spaces between its cells. It prevents cells from dividing out of control. Think of it as a built-in cellular brake that stops any cell from becoming cancerous. When scientists removed this protein from mole rat cells in the lab, tumors began to form immediately. That confirmed it. This one molecule is a key defense against cancer, and nothing like it exists in any other mammal. Oh, and the naked mole rat can also survive up to 18 minutes without oxygen. The human brain starts dying in 4 to 5 minutes. But when oxygen disappears, the mole rat switches its metabolism to an emergency backup system powered by fructose, like a plant. It is the only known mammal capable of this. If you were designing a perfect biological survival machine, you'd basically design a naked mole rat. Now we get to the animal I mentioned at the very beginning, the tardigrade, also known as the water bear. Under a microscope, it looks exactly like a tiny, chubby, 8-legged bear, less than a millimeter long. Found literally everywhere. Oceans, lakes, forests, mossy rocks, your backyard, probably your front yard too. The tardigrade doesn't stop aging. It doesn't rewind time. It does something different. It survives conditions that should be, by any definition of the word, completely impossible. Temperatures from 458 Fahrenheit. Pressure 6 times greater than the deepest point in the ocean. Radiation thousands of times the lethal dose for a human. The complete vacuum of open space. Decades without water. Years without food. In 2007, tardigrades became the first animals ever to survive in open outer space. Researchers sent them into orbit, exposed them to the vacuum and direct solar radiation with no shielding, and brought them back. Many survived. Some even reproduced afterward. So how? The answer is a state called cryptobiosis. When conditions become unbearable, the tardigrade pulls in its legs and curls into a tiny barrel called a tun. It nearly completely dehydrates itself. Water content drops from 85% to less than 3%. Metabolism slows to essentially zero. The tardigrade isn't alive in any conventional sense, but it's not dead either. It exists in a kind of biological limbo between life and death. When conditions improve, a single drop of water is enough. Within minutes, the tardigrade wakes up and carries on as if nothing happened. In 2019, this ability put tardigrades on front pages worldwide. An Israeli lunar lander called Bereshit crashed during its moon landing. On board, dehydrated tardigrades. Scientists asked, did they survive? The answer is probably yes. That means right now, there are almost certainly living tardigrades sitting on the surface of the moon, waiting for a drop of water that will never come unless someone brings them home. But here's the wild part. Scientists extracted a protein from the tardigrade genome called D-sup, damage suppressor. It protects chromosomes from radiation. When researchers inserted the D-sup gene into human cells in the lab, those cells became 40% more resistant to X-ray radiation. If humanity ever sends people to Mars, cosmic radiation is one of the biggest threats to the crew. And a 0.5 millimeter water bear might be the key to solving it. Let's go from microscopic to something more familiar. The wood frog, Rana sylvatica, lives across North America, including Canada and Alaska. Every winter, it does something that makes doctors physically uncomfortable to watch. It freezes. Not hibernates, not burrows somewhere warm. It literally freezes. Up to 65% of the water in its body turns to solid ice. Its heart stops, blood circulation stops, brain activity zero, breathing zero. By every clinical measure, the wood frog is dead. It lies under a leaf pile in the forest, hard as a rock, covered in frost. If you found it in the woods in January, you'd assume it was dead. Because, by every standard we have, it is. And then spring comes. The ice melts, the heart starts, slowly at first, then picking up rhythm. The blood, half-frozen slush just hours ago, starts flowing again. Eyes open, legs start moving. The frog hops toward the nearest pond as if nothing happened. It spent several months in a state indistinguishable from death, and it came back. This is documented scientific fact. The frog's liver floods its bloodstream with a massive surge of glucose the moment body temperature starts to drop. Blood sugar rises to levels that would put any other vertebrate into a diabetic coma. But for the wood frog, that sugar acts as antifreeze. It penetrates the cells and prevents ice crystals from forming inside them, because internal ice crystals would shred the cell membranes. Ice forms in the spaces between cells, not inside them. The cells dehydrate and shrink, but they stay intact. The frog also deploys specialized proteins that control exactly how the ice forms. Slow and even crystal growth, not sharp destructive spikes. For transplant medicine, the wood frog is essentially a live instruction manual. The single biggest problem in transplant surgery is organ preservation. A human heart survives outside the body for 4 to 6 hours. A kidney, maybe 36. If we could freeze organs the way the wood frog freezes itself, no cellular damage, full recovery on thawing, it would completely transform medicine. Thousands of people die every year waiting for organs that simply couldn't be delivered in time. A frog freezing in a Canadian forest every winter might, in the end, save millions of human lives. And now, our fifth animal, the one that makes you rethink time itself. The Greenland shark, Somniosus microcephalus, the longest living vertebrate on Earth. In 2016, a team of Danish scientists published a study that genuinely shook the scientific community. using radiocarbon analysis of the eye lenses, they dated the ages of several captured Greenland sharks. The largest female, just over 16 feet long, was approximately 392 years old. She was born around 1624. The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock in 1620. Galileo was still alive. Shakespeare had been dead for less than a decade. And she is still alive today, swimming, hunting, living. The Greenland shark lives in the icy waters of the Arctic and North Atlantic, at depths down to 1.5 miles. It moves at about 0.6 miles per hour, one of the slowest sharks alive. It grows 1 centimeter per year, and it reaches sexual maturity at approximately 150 years old. In 150 years of American history, we went from the early republic through 2 world wars, the moon landing, the internet, and smartphones. The Greenland shark was just hitting puberty. A Greenland shark born in the 1600s has been a silent witness to all of modern civilization's rise. When it was young, Newton hadn't yet published his laws of motion. When it was middle-aged, the Civil War was being fought. When it was old, the Titanic sank in the same waters it roams. It was there when the first human left Earth's atmosphere. And it is still there now, slow, nearly motionless, in absolute darkness beneath the polar ice. Most Greenland sharks are blind. Their eyes are infected by a parasitic copepod that attaches to the cornea and gradually destroys vision. But in a world of permanent pitch-black darkness, sight is useless anyway. The shark navigates by smell and electroreception, detecting tiny electrical fields generated by the muscles of other animals. Blind, barely moving, living in a world without light, and functionally immortal, as far as we can tell. No captured Greenland shark has ever shown signs of age-related organ degradation, their hearts, livers, brains working equally well at 50 years or 300. The leading theory ties its longevity to its extreme cold water metabolism. All biochemical processes in the shark's body run at a fraction of the speed of warmer water fish. Slower metabolism means slower DNA damage, slower telomere shortening, slower aging overall. The shark's muscle tissue also contains high concentrations of trimethylamine oxide, a compound that stabilizes proteins under extreme pressure and cold. But there's no complete explanation. 400 years of life is too much even for the slowest metabolism on record. Something else is at work here, something we don't yet understand, and that's the part that keeps biologists awake at night. 5 animals, 5 ways to break the rules of death. A jellyfish that rewinds time, a mole rat that doesn't age, a tardigrade that survives everything, a frog that freezes and comes back, a shark that lives for 4 centuries. Each one is a walking, swimming, or crawling proof that death isn't as absolute as we always thought. Nature didn't find one loophole in biology's most fundamental law. It found several. The tardigrade's radiation-shielding protein, the mole rat's cancer-blocking hyaluronic acid, the wood frog's glucose antifreeze, the jellyfish's cellular reset, the Greenland shark's centuries-long metabolism. None of this is science fiction. All of it has been published in peer-reviewed journals, verified by researchers around the world. And maybe the most extraordinary thing about these 5 animals isn't what they can do. It's how long it took us to notice. The immortal jellyfish was first described in 1883, but its ability to reverse age wasn't discovered until 1996. The naked mole rat was studied for decades as an oddity before anyone realized it didn't obey the laws of aging. The tardigrade was known since the 1700s, but its genome wasn't sequenced until 2015. The Greenland shark's age wasn't established until 2016. All of these creatures were living alongside us the entire time. In our oceans, in our forests, in the moss on our front porches. And for centuries, we walked right past them without realizing they were breaking the most fundamental rule of life. So how many more are out there? How many creatures in some unremarkable corner of the ocean, or the rainforest, or the soil beneath your feet are quietly violating the laws of biology right now? We don't know. But one thing is certain: death is not as inevitable as it seems. At least, not if you're a jellyfish, or a mole rat, or a microscopic water bear sitting in the moss outside your window right now, ready to outlive you, your children, and quite possibly our entire civilization. Nature spent 3.5 billion years running experiments on death. We just looked at 5 of them. The most extraordinary ones. They haven't been found yet.